I am from France, Burgundy, and normally when I became a priest after being a mathematics teacher, if you told me I will work with the Jews and about genocide, I would run away from the church. I wanted to be missionary in Africa, and the church told me every year it was sure. And the life decided in another way. My grandfather in 1942 has been deported as French in Ukraine, in a German camp of Soviet prisoners. And when I was a child, I asked him thousands of times what happened in that village, in Ravaruska. And he refused to speak. One time only he told me we had no food, no drink, but outside the camp was worse. And me as a child, I was wondering what could be worse than a camp. So one day I went back to Ravaruska. I knew that they shot in this village 18,000 Jews and 25,000 Soviet prisoners. So imagine a small village with 40,000 people buried around. And nobody wanted to speak. It was Soviet time, post-Soviet time. And so when we raised the question, they said, no, we don't know. It was secret. Nobody saw the shooting of the Jews. And suddenly the new mayor brought me to the forest with 50 farmers present at the killing. And one by one, they explained me what they remember. The first one, his name was Martin. He told me, oh, I remember I was alone with my mother, keeping my cow, and a German came alone with a dog and a motorcycle, and he was turning. And nobody understood why. And after they understood, he was a specialist of the digging of the mass grave. Now we know that in each village, they send a specialist. This specialist, he goes to see the municipality, and he asks how many Jews are still alive. And he will calculate the volume of the mass grave according to the number of people he wants to kill. The mass graves are different. Either they are round, and so they kill people from the top and they fall down. Either they are long with stairs, so the Jews are forced to go down and lay on the corpse. They call it Sardinnenpackung. And the day after, effectively, 3 Germans arrived with a truck of 30 Jews, 30 young Jews from the ghetto, and they forced them to dig during 2 days. You must realize the people we interview, like this Martin, they are not historians. They only say what they remember. And he remembered details. He remembered that the Germans were buried during the digging, so they asked in the village for a table, and they put a gramophone to listen German music. And one of the Germans played harmonica. He broke his harmonica. And as I always say, later we found the pieces of harmonica with metallic detector. And after, they said to the Jews, you should rest. And in fact, secretly, they put explosive under the ground. After, the Jews went on digging, and they exploded. At that moment, they began to hide the pieces of corpse with help of a lady of the village, and they brought trucks and trucks and trucks of Jews from Ravaruska. In 1 day and a half, they shot 1,500, only with 2 carabines, Mauser. The story could have stopped there because I realized my grandfather, as prisoner, saw the shooting. It was dark in the forest, and I will never know why Yaroslav, the mayor of the city, told me, Patrick, what I did for 1 village, I can do for 100 villages. For me, it was like a signal. I came back to France, and I said to Cardinal Lustiger, who was Jew by family, what I found. He told me, oh, Patrick, I know the story, because my Polish Jewish family has been shot the same way in Beijing in Poland. I went to New York, I met the leaders of the World Jewish Congress, and they didn't know I speak Hebrew. So I heard they say to each other, you know what? We are looking for this mass grave since 1944, and this guy that we don't know, he finds them. So we organized a secret meeting in the suburb of Paris between Lustiger and the World Jewish Congress, and we decided to build this non-profit, Yarad, together in Hebrew, in Unum, together in Latin. I remember that Lustiger said, we will not say Unum because we are not one, the Catholic and the Jews, but we are in one, and one is God. So it means together in one. Now, that's the archaeology of today. Today, it's a young team of 22 persons full-time in Paris, working on Soviet archives, working on German archives, translating them, and going 15 times a year for 17 days each time in the field. So I will explain you how we work. I will explain you the results that we have, the question that we have. This slideshow is long. It was done for the municipality of Paris, so I will not comment every slide. Otherwise, the night will be not long enough. First, a difference between the killing in the gas chamber and the killing in the fields is that we have photograph. We have minimum 400 pictures taken by the people during the shooting. Where from the pictures? Most of the photographs are private photographs for their lovers or for their family to have souvenir. By example, some military Wehrmacht went to the mass grave and wanted a picture to send to Germany to their lover. So they want a picture as souvenir. And all these pictures are this kind. One type of the shooting, you see the people, the shooters on the top, you see the guy who coordinates the shooting, and you see the victim at the bottom. That's the Soviet archive. So I will not comment that, otherwise we will not sleep here. Here, typically what we find in Soviet archives. What are the Soviet archives? It's 16 million of pages of what we call the Extraordinary Soviet Commission. In every village in 44 and 33, they send a commission in the last of the village to look for the mass grave. They interview, but it's KGB interview, so they interview the people, and they make a sketch of the localization of the mass grave. It was sleeping in Soviet archives, and Holocaust Museum of Washington and Yad Vashem succeeded to buy a copy in the years 92. But nobody read them so much, because people were thinking, it's Soviet propaganda. The luck is that we have all the lays of this commission. The lays in the village was even signed by the priest, signed by the teacher, signed by all the authority of the village, and after the lay until Moscow. So we use the lay of the village, written by hand, done by hand. But you imagine that to open the file one by one, written by hand, with 16 million of pages, we have one person working in Holocaust Museum of Washington, paid by Yarad. Since 5 years, he works only with one finger because he's scanning this microfilm and sending to Paris. So that's typically a Soviet commission. I don't know where is the red. I will find it. Yeah. Here, it's in Borove. It's the village where I found the first mass grave near the camp of my grandfather. Here is the mass grave. With this draft, we could check the compatibility of the landscape and the position of the mass grave and the quality of the testimonies who saw the killing. So we use this sketch like a way to find the place. Here, it's a list of victims. It's not always, but sometimes you have the list of the victims of the village. Imagine it's very important because now Yarad receives letters from all America, but also from Australia, but also from Israel and other countries, with always the same question. Could you know in which mass grave is my mother? Could you know in which mass grave is my uncle? And I will never forget a story we happened in Los Angeles. A family called us and said, our family was killed in a small village in Poland by shooting, but we know nothing, and so on. So we connected them with the local people we knew in the village. So they went back in their village of origin, but you imagine from LA to a small village in the middle of nowhere. And they discovered that an artist from the village painted the shooting. So it's a painting like that. You see the mass grave, and you see the people being killed. And suddenly they recognize grandmother and grandfather in the painting. They bought the painting. And for the moment, the painting is in Yarad, waiting to be in a museum or in an Holocaust center. But I met the family is totally transformed because they realized that really their family has been killed. It was not only in public, it was painted. That's the German archive. I will pass on that. That's an important step. Before we go, we make a mapping on the shooting. So you see that it's only a department. It's not the state. And only on department, you see all the places of shooting. The blue are the Jews. The yellow are the gypsy. The red are the camp of Soviet prisoners. So when we have such a region, it will need 4 or 5 travel of 17 days. Because we can make maximum 1 or 2 villages per day, find the witnesses, interview them with very long interview, bring them back to the mass grave, take the satellite connection of the mass grave, take enough pictures, certify, make a statement, etc. So how do we proceed now? We have 3 cars. One car is leaving the hotel at 5, 6 o'clock. They go to the village. They arrive at the beginning of the day. They knock at every door. They have a small telephone. Immediately when they begin to find the first one, the second car goes with the camera and all the staff, and we begin the interview. But imagine the number of killings only in one department. We discovered now that in each region, there was a German, an official, because we never found a village without the coming of the German. So we were wondering how they could. In fact, in the biggest city of the region, there is a huge map with all the Jewish community, as small as they could be. And the central organization checked that all the villages are done one by one. So when they do a village, they report to the region, and they cross. And when it's finished, the region is finished. For the German, you must understand, some people can be killed in 41, some people can be killed in 43. Don't think it was going like that. That's what we will publish in a few months. We will publish on an interactive map, state by state, village by village, what happened in the village with a piece of archive, the piece of Soviet archive, the piece of German archive, and extract of the testimony. Why we do that? Because the witnesses are disappearing one by one. Because now the deniers are demultiplying like an epidemic. And they will say it never happened. And until you have a survivor, it's difficult for them because the survivor will raise the hand and say, I was there. But when the last survivor will not be here, the only challenge for us is to bring evidences of the crime. You imagine, when you kill one person, you can find evidence. So when you kill 1,000 in a village, it's a huge quantity of evidences. So the challenge of this website will be to show place per place the evidence of the crime. See, that's a map of Ukraine. And you have only the big site that you see here. It's to show you it was a continent of extermination. We are still working in Ukraine after 12 years, because in every village there is a mass grave. That's the satellite map you will see with the red point to find the mass grave. So people will be able to find by name of village, because most of the time they know they are from this village. I'll go away. And now I will show you recent researches. We are in Moldavia, a new country for us. We work in Moldavia since 1 year and a half. Moldavia is near to Romania. They speak Romanian and they speak Russian, depends the population. They have been occupied by the Romanian under Antonescu, and it's the Romanian who killed the Jews without any German. Not special units, normal gendarmerie, Romanian gendarmerie. That's the flag of Romania, of Moldavia. We arrived in this place, and we knew that in this city was a camp. A camp of Jews, was officially a camp of transit, but you knew more than 3,000 Jews died in the camp. And suddenly, with the witnesses, we understood that the camp was the territory of the football game. So here, in fact, was the camp. You see the houses here? It means every house is a camp during month and month and month. And suddenly, we ask who from the village entered the camp, because everybody saw it, so it's useless to ask if they saw it. And suddenly one man, he said, yes, I was making like a compote, as we say. Comment on dit une compote en anglais? Like a jam, yeah. And he said, I was taking my apples, making jam, and I sold the jam to the Jews in the camp every day, 2 lei, 1 kilo. So he made like if he was doing it, 2 leis, 1 kilo, 2 leis, 1 kilo, and he was circulating in the camp. And I said, but the Jews want no money. They died. So imagine this guy every morning cooking his apples, selling them for the Jews who still have money in their pockets, and all the others, all the poor Jews, one by one, died in the camp. That's exactly the size of the camp. And the mass grave, he explained, was at the bottom here. So here, under the football game, you have 3,000 Jews in the very middle of a village. Here is a witness who was selling this compote. Here is a testimony. It's a special, every country we have to find the way. Every country we have to force our imagination. What I show you is very recent research. I did it voluntarily because the priest invited me already the last year, and I don't like to serve old bread, as I say. And so I was thinking, how we will make the interview? Because they speak Romanian, and they don't like the Romanian, because they have been occupied by the Romanian. So I was thinking, perhaps we could employ gypsy, because the gypsy from Romania have been victims, and gypsy are welcome in Moldavia. And that's what happened. So this guy is the chief of the team of gypsy. He works for us full-time. He was a policeman in Belgium. And he drives the interview with us. Me, I am behind. You must see the size. That's the full apartment. You must understand, it's a phrase of Cardinal Lustiger, but I keep very strongly in my conscience. The reality of the genocide in post-Soviet Union stays in the memory of the poor people. Because never the killers kill the poor people. They don't care. For them, they are nothing. We are in another village, and this man, he saw the shooting, this one. So here is Still Valley, the chief of the gypsy. Patrice is finishing his PhD in history. He is Jew, he's Sephardic, and he speaks Ukrainian, Russian, and Yiddish. And so this man, he said, I saw a shooting near to my house. And he brings us to the place. You must understand they never went back since 42. They always dreamed to come back. That was the road of the death when they brought the Jews. You must understand also that nothing changed in the daily life. And in that village, it was complicated. Nobody wanted to speak. And so we arrived like a big team. Everybody is gypsy in this team except me. So I'm still not gypsy. And him is a bodyguard that works with me since a long time. And they entered to the house of this lady because officially she was a witness. Everybody told us she was there. We entered. I can tell you it was not easy. The family jumped in the house and said, no, my grandmother is too old. It's freezing. We don't accept she goes outside. She never went outside since 14 years, etc., etc. I was thinking, I don't know if we will succeed something. We began the interview. Only gypsies around her because she likes this atmosphere. People are Christian, Orthodox most of the time. And she began to say, yes, I was going to the market. I was a girl, a young girl, and I saw the execution. I saw everything, and she began to explain the shooting of the Jews. She says, it's not down in the city. It's on the top of the city. So all the city was watching in any case. I was not the only one. And we asked, because the family finally left us for the interview, I asked her, do you accept to go to the mass grave? And she said, yes, if my family is gone out to work. So we came back the morning after. We dressed her, I would say. It's the first time she went out since 14 years. And we brought her to the mass grave. You must understand, it seems you easy, but in fact, there are 3 people and we are 6 behind with the camera. I say that because when people come to say, we didn't imagine, we were thinking people were alone in the nature. But no, to give a good image, you have the photograph, the cameraman, the specialist of the sound, etc., and the historian. And so she begins to say, I say, but ma'am, you were on this road? Oh, she said, yes. But I say, you were telling me you went to the market. I didn't tell you the truth. In fact, I didn't go to the market. I went to see the execution because it was interesting for us, the children. So that you must understand. Most of the witnesses were children and go like a spectacle, like an event, like a public event, like an accident of car that you go to watch. It was like a show. And finally, we found the mass grave. Here is the mass grave. You see the size of the grave according to the city? 1,700 Jews. And she said something we couldn't imagine if we had no witness. Just after the moment of the shooting, there was a storm, a huge storm. The water reopened the graves. So all the corpses went down in the city, in the main street. So the same evening, the municipality asked the people of the city to take their cart and horses and bring back all the corpses on the top to rebury them. And last detail, and not good, when the corpses went down, they were dressed. When they went back up, they were no more dressed. People took the dresses, etc. That's the reality of a genocide in daily life. Here it's with no German, it's only with Romanian. Another village, he was also witness. He saw all the group of the Jews walking to their death. He wanted to show the place. I will never forget, he said the Jews were tied one by one with rope, brought to a place, forced to drink in the river like animals, and after shot. And him, he was a child, so he was following. And the killers went. And one Jew was not dead. His name was Moscow. So Moscow saw he was watching. So he said, please, come, take out the rope. I'm not dead, and everybody is dead. So he ran with his friend to liberate the Moscow. But the neighbor was a farmer. When he saw that, He took his own personal carabine from farmer and he killed Moscow. In this case, you have the name of all the victims, because all the victims were from the village, and the name of all the killers, because there were Romanian gendarmes in the village. It's the most difficult for us, because when you are in Ukraine, it's anonymous Einsatzgruppe, anonymous units. But here, we know everybody name by name. For me, I will be in Moldavia in 2 weeks, I think, for 2 weeks of investigation. It's the most touching history because you have the name of everybody at the end. Last, I bring you new stories, voluntary. I'm sorry, because the priest was thinking I would repeat, but no. It's not the annual sermon, you know. So we are in a village, and appeared in this village the worst of the worst. This guy is a local historian. He was witness, he saw the shooting, but his passion was to see all the witnesses and to write their testimony. So he has interviewed all the village before us, since the war. And we didn't know. And he said in that village, the local gendarme decided to put all the Jews in a private house and to transform that in a jail. And he said, after, they decided to bring all the Jews to a river. They took ropes, they put a big stone at the neck of every Jew, and they threw them in the river. And they drowned 70 families like that. One little girl, she was 5 years old, the rope was not well tied. She succeeded to swim and to go out of the river. Suddenly they saw it. The day after, they brought back the little girl with a new rope and a new stone. A second time, the girl escaped, but during the night. She was hidden in a house of the village. Of course, many houses were empty because of the Jewish killing. Somebody saw the small girl. They took her again. They brought her to the police. And the chief of the gendarmerie said, "We will never succeed to drown this girl. I will kill her myself." He took a carabine, he brought the girl near the river, he shot her, and he buried the girl. After, it was in summer. All the corpses began to float on the river. They asked all the village to take all the corpses from the river. And with a horse, they put a rope at the leg of each Jew and carry each Jew in the village in public. The municipality forced the village to let 3 days the corpse outside before burying them. We had 8 hours of interview. I never got such a difficult interview. They knew everybody by name. He's going to the mass grave. You see the river? The river was much bigger. It was in summer. It's where they had drowned the Jews. You must understand we are in a beautiful landscape. It's winter. It could be a romantic place. In fact, it's a killing site. The river is there. This guy, 82 years, local historian, wanted absolutely to go where the place where they are drowned the people. Even me, we have 12 years of experience. At the end, I could not follow. I said to my team, you go. It's enough for me. I made already 4 hours of interview. You finish your interview. You must understand that sometimes it's difficult to stand 8 hours in such a situation because you have no atmosphere to breathe, because you need to eat in the village and stay in the village because there is nothing around to go to eat. And here is a guard. It's the first time he was keeping the Jews in the house before the shooting. He was 17 years. He was a teenager required to shoot. You will not believe the worst interview I have to do. His family brought him, and like a joke, they say, "Hey, papi, you were keeping the Jews. You remember?" He said, "Oh, yes, I was keeping the Jews." Like a joke they spoke, like if it was funny. And his only question was, I will never understand, you know, he told me. I am a good guard, but Dr. Arts, he escaped. And he committed suicide behind the jail. I can tell you I am a good guard. I never listen noise. I don't understand how he could escape. That was the only question. That was the house where we have been put in jail. We make the interview in the street, in the middle of everybody. You see the weather, because in the last time I spoke, somebody asked me why we don't sleep in the village. But we have no place to sleep because there is no hotel and nothing, and there is no running water. Here is the well where Dr. Arts committed suicide. He hung it with his shirt in the well because he didn't want to be drawn in the river. You have all the details. And the day after, we begin again with the map. You have Misha, who is with me since 12 years. You have a Russian girl who helps us as translator. We have the map, and we decide the new village. That's what Yarad is doing today in 8 countries, both for the Jews, both for the Roma, but it's not the same story. Why do we do that? Why actually other countries ask us to do the same? First, we are different in Yarad. Me, I'm Catholic. The CEO is Protestant, other are Orthodox, other are Jews, other are non-believers. But we have a common determination. We cannot accept we build democracies on mass graves. Because if we accept that in full Europe, we don't bury the Jews, we don't bury the gypsies, and we build market, banks, highway, anything, what will we say to Rwanda? What will we say to Cambodia? What will we say to Darfur? What can we say to Syria if it was not important to care about the Jewish victims in middle of Europe? The second thing is that, as I say, in the beginning of the Bible, Cain is killing Abel. And I think through my education, through my family, through my grandfather, I always listen of this question of God in the Bible. Where is your brother? Where is your Jewish brother from Ukraine, from Belarus, from Russia? Where is your gypsy brother from Ukraine, Belarus, Russia, Romania? He's under the bushes like an animal. And you know the answer of Cain? He said to God, am I the guardian of my brother? It means it's not my question. We have so much to do. There's a future, there is life, modernity. And God says, don't you hear that the blood of Abel is climbing from earth until heaven? And it's written the bloods. And Rashi made this commentary saying that it's not the blood only of Abel, but of all the people who will be killed after. And as I say, I think, since I am a child, in my nightmare, I heard this yell of Abel. And we will not be able to make Abel silent. And last thing, the challenge is to train new generation. I make conferences in countries very far from here, in China, by example, but also in Muslim countries. And I meet new generation who are sick of violence, of mass violence every day in the TV. I can tell you, tomorrow you can open your TV. On any channel, you will have the news of a mass execution somewhere, perhaps in Syria, perhaps in other countries. But surely tomorrow a group of victims will be killed by somebody. So I say we have to teach Holocaust to make the new generation in capacity of preventing the mass crime. It's a duty for tomorrow. And if we don't do it, I think when we'll go on the other side after death, what we will say to this million and million of people who have been killed under modernity. Thank you.